The rejection came during the treaty signing. I stood 3 paces behind my father's chair, dressed in ceremonial silver like every other unmated wolf in the Crescent Valley delegation. The summit hall smelled of old wood and new tension. 2 packs who'd bled each other for 60 years now forced to smile across polished oak. Alpha Cain Riverclaw sat opposite us. 32, broad-shouldered, with eyes the color of winter smoke. I'd seen him twice before, once across a skirmish line when I was 16, once at a failed negotiation where he'd called my father a coward. I hated him with the kind of clarity that made my wolf settle. Then he looked at me. The bond slammed into place like a bone breaking backward. My wolf surged, recognizing, claiming, and I felt the exact moment his wolf answered. Saw his pupils blow wide. Watched his hand flatten against the table hard enough to crack the veneer. Mate. My father's aide was mid-sentence about border access when Cain stood. No. 1 word. Flat. Final. The room went silent. Cain's second, Marcus, reached for him. Alpha, I reject this bond. Cain's voice carried to every corner of the hall. His eyes locked on mine, and I felt the mate bond writhe, confused, trying to correct itself like a wounded animal. I will not be tied to Crescent Valley. Not through treaty, and sure as hell not through fate. My wolf screamed. The mate bond is sacred, my father said slowly, rising. His hand found my shoulder, a warning or a comfort. I couldn't tell past the ringing in my ears. You would defy the moon's will. I would defy any will that chains me to my enemy. Cain's lip curled. Your daughter is a political trap. I won't spring it. 60 people watched me stand there and take it. The bond was still trying, sending desperate pulses of recognition. Need, please, like it didn't understand it was being murdered in public. My chest felt too tight. My wolf clawed inside my skin, confused why our mate was rejecting us, what we'd done wrong, why he smelled right but his words felt like claws. Keira. My father's voice. Quiet. We're leaving. I couldn't move. Cain turned his back on me, returned to his seat, picked up the treaty pen like I'd already stopped existing. You'll regret this, I heard myself say. He didn't even look up. I doubt it. The walk out of Summit Hall took 1,000 years. My father's hand stayed on my shoulder, steering me past Riverclaw wolves who wouldn't meet my eyes and my own pack members who stared with either pity or calculation. Someone would already be wondering if I was still marriageable, if a rejected bond made me damaged goods. I made it to the parking lot before I vomited into the landscaping. Breathe, my father murmured. Just breathe, little moon. I couldn't. The bond was a fishing hook lodged in my sternum, and every breath dragged the barb deeper. Wolves weren't meant to survive rejection. The stories all ended the same way: madness, death, or a half-life so grey it wasn't worth the name. We'll contest it, my father said. The council, no. He went quiet. I straightened, wiped my mouth, forced my wolf down into the dark place where I kept everything that could hurt me. He made his choice. I'll make mine. Keira, I'm going to survive this. I met my father's eyes. Alpha brown, same as mine. And then I'm going to make sure he knows exactly what he threw away. That was 8 weeks ago. Now I stared at 2 pink lines and tried to remember how to breathe. The pregnancy test sat on my bathroom counter like evidence at a crime scene. Impossible. We'd never touched. Never even. The mate bond pulsed. Understanding hit like cold water. The bond. The fated bond that Cain had tried to sever but couldn't quite kill. It had found a loophole in his rejection, exploited the biological imperative written into our DNA. Conception through proximity. Through the wolf's desperate attempt to complete what the man had denied. My hand went to my stomach. Nothing showed yet, but everything had changed. Cain's baby. My wolf crooned with smug satisfaction. She didn't understand politics or rejection. Only knew ours. Fuck, I whispered. The phone call came 3 days later. Miss Thorne. The voice was professionally neutral. Council liaison, probably. The Riverclaw Pack has filed a formal inquiry regarding your rejection status. They are requesting a bond verification hearing. I stopped mid-step in my apartment. On what grounds? Alpha Riverclaw claims the bond remains active. That his rejection was incomplete. Of course he did. His wolf had probably been screaming at him for 8 weeks, confused why the severing didn't take, why he could still feel me across pack boundaries. Tell them, I said carefully, that I'm not interested in verification. The rejection was public and witnessed. The matter is closed. The council may not see it that way. If the bond is truly active, then it's active on my end only, which makes it my problem, not theirs. I kept my voice level. Is there anything else? A pause. The hearing is scheduled for 3 weeks from now. Your attendance is strongly encouraged. I hung up. 3 weeks. That would put me at 13 weeks pregnant, firmly in second trimester for a wolf, starting to show. The hearing would expose everything. I called the only person I trusted. I need a favor, I said when Lena answered. A big one. She arrived 20 minutes later with a duffel bag and a grim expression. How big? Help me disappear for 3 weeks. Keira, the council's calling a hearing. Cain's pack wants to verify the bond status. I pressed my palm flat against my stomach. If I show up pregnant, this becomes a legal nightmare. Pack law, custody, succession rights, so don't show up. If I don't show up, the council can rule in absentia. Award him access, visitation, claim rights. I met her eyes. I need those 3 weeks to figure out how to protect this baby before lawyers and alphas and politics tear everything apart. Lena studied me for a long moment. Where would you go? My mother's people. The mountain pack, neutral territory. They owe my father a blood debt. They'll shelter me, no questions asked. And when you come back? I come back with a plan. And a lawyer. I pulled out my phone, showed her the research I'd compiled. There's precedent. 3 cases of rejected bonds resulting in pregnancy. 2 ended in forced matings. Keira. And 1 ended with the mother granted full custody after proving the rejection caused psychological harm. I looked up. I can prove harm. The pack healers documented everything. Medical records, trauma assessments, the works. You'd take this to litigation. I'd take it to war if that's what it takes. My wolf rose in my voice. He doesn't get to reject me in front of both our packs and then claim fatherhood when it's convenient. He made his choice. Lena exhaled slowly. When do we leave? Tonight. We left at midnight. I told no one except my father, who'd looked at me with something between pride and grief when I'd explained. He'd given me the mountain pack's contact, his personal seal, and a handgun I hoped I'd never use. 3 weeks, he'd said. Then you come home and we face this together. Together, I'd agreed. Now I sat in Lena's passenger seat, watching Crescent Valley disappear in the rearview mirror, and felt the bond stretch thin and painful across the growing distance. Cain would feel this. Would wake up tomorrow and know I'd run. Good. Let him panic. Let him wonder. Let him feel a fraction of what he'd put me through. The mountain pack territory was 6 hours north, high elevation and isolated. Perfect. I pressed my hand to my stomach and whispered. Just you and me now. We're going to be okay. The baby, too small to kick, too small to hear, nonetheless felt like a promise. Behind us, the bond shuddered. And in Crescent Valley, Cain Riverclaw woke with his heart racing and my name on his lips. The mountains swallowed us whole. Lena drove the winding roads with steady competence while I watched pine forests thicken and the air turn sharp with altitude. The mountain pack, Silver Ridge, lived at 7,000 feet, where the snow stayed year-round and outsiders didn't venture without invitation. My mother had been Silver Ridge before she'd mated my father. They'd remember. The pack house appeared around a blind curve, a sprawling timber structure that looked grown rather than built, all organic lines and massive windows. Wolves moved in the clearing, 20, maybe 30, all stopping to watch our car approach. Friendly crowd, Lena muttered. They're careful. That's different. I opened my door before she'd fully stopped, letting the mountain air hit my face. Cold. Clean. My wolf settled immediately, recognizing safety in the isolation. An older woman approached. Silver-haired, lean, with eyes that matched the winter sky. Keira Thorne. You have your mother's face. Elder Mara. I'd met her twice, both times at my mother's funeral. Thank you for. Don't thank me yet. You're running from something. Her gaze went to my stomach, not showing, but she was pack elder. She'd sent the pregnancy easily. Or someone. Both. She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Inside. We'll talk. The pack house interior smelled like cedar and wood smoke. Mara led us to a private sitting room, gestured for us to sit, then poured tea from a pot that had been steeping, waiting for us. Your father's message said you needed sanctuary. 3 weeks, no questions. She settled into her chair. I'm asking anyway. I'd prepared for this, rehearsed it during the drive. But sitting here, under the weight of her knowing gaze, The truth came out simpler than I'd planned. I'm pregnant. The father is Cain Riverclaw. He rejected our mate bond publicly 8 weeks ago. His pack has called a council hearing to verify bond status. I met her eyes. If I attend while visibly pregnant, pack law gives him claim rights. I need those 3 weeks to build a legal case for sole custody before he can leverage bond magic against me. Silence. Then, you're asking us to harbor you against an alpha's claim. I'm asking you to honor the blood debt owed to my mother's line. That debt doesn't extend to pack warfare, child. Then consider it a personal favor. 3 weeks. That's all I need. Mara's expression gave nothing away. Behind her, through the window, I could see mountain peaks cutting into a sky so blue it hurt. The baby, she said finally. Is it healthy? Yes. And you? The rejected bond. That kind of trauma kills wolves. I'm managing. That's not what I asked. I looked down at my tea. Steam rising, fragrant with pine and something earthier. It hurts. Every day. Like there's a wound that won't close because half of it is missing. I touched my sternum. But I'm surviving. The baby helps. Gives my wolf something to focus on besides the mate who abandoned us. Abandoned. Mara tasted the word. That's what you call it. What would you call it? A mistake. She leaned forward. I've known Cain Riverclaw since he was 12 years old, training with our young warriors during the summer exchanges. He's proud, stubborn, and carrying his father's ghost on his shoulders. But he's not cruel. He rejected me in front of 60 witnesses. He panicked, Mara said quietly. Saw the mate bond as a trap, everything his father warned him about. Crescent Valley has been his enemy for 60 years. Finding his mate among them. She shook her head. He chose pack loyalty over personal happiness. Some would call that noble. I call it cowardice. Perhaps. Or perhaps he's simply a man who made the wrong choice at the worst possible time. Her eyes sharpened. The question is, what will you do when he tries to make it right? He doesn't get to make it right. Doesn't he? Mara set down her tea. That baby is his, whether he claimed the bond or not. His wolf will know. The pull will be overwhelming, instinct driving him to protect, to provide, to mate. You can't fight biology forever. Watch me. Mara smiled, but it held no humor. 3 weeks. We'll shelter you, feed you, keep you hidden. But Keira. Her voice went soft. Running from him won't resolve this. Eventually, you'll have to face what he broke. And what you still want from him, despite everything. I don't want anything from him. Then why does your hand keep going to your stomach like you're protecting something precious? Why did you run instead of letting the council rule in your favor? She stood, smoothed her skirts. 3 weeks to hide. But you can't hide from the truth forever. She left us alone. Lena waited until the door closed. She's not wrong. Don't. Keira, I can't think about that right now. Can't afford to. I stood, paced to the window. Below, young wolves were sparring in the clearing, all controlled aggression and joy. If I let myself want him, if I let myself believe he could be different, it'll destroy me when he proves he's not. So I don't want. I survive. That's all I have room for. That's not sustainable. It is for 3 weeks. Lena sighed but didn't argue. Outside, the mountains stood eternal and indifferent. I pressed my palm to the glass and felt the bond stretch across 200 miles of wilderness, thin as spider silk and twice as fragile. Somewhere in Riverclaw territory, Cain would be losing his mind. I should have felt satisfaction. Instead, I felt the first curl of something that might have been guilt, if I let myself name it. I didn't. Day 4 in the mountains. My phone rang at 2 a.m. unknown number. I answered anyway. Where are you? Cain's voice, ragged with something between fury and desperation. I should have hung up. Instead, none of your business. Keira, please. How did you get this number? I have my ways. Where are you? The bond. I can barely feel you. You're too far. Something's wrong. Nothing's wrong. I'm exactly where I need to be. The hearing is in 17 days. If you don't show, I know the timeline. Then you know the council can rule without you. Grant me access. To what? I sat up, fully awake now. You rejected the bond, Cain. Made it very clear you wanted nothing to do with me. What exactly do you think you have access to? Silence. Then, quieter. I know about the baby. My blood went cold. You don't know anything. I know you're pregnant. I know it's mine, the timeline matches, and the bond. He exhaled roughly. My wolf has been going insane. He knows. Even if I didn't want to believe it, he knows. So that's my child. No. The word came out flat. Final. That's my child. You gave up any claim when you called me a political trap and walked away. I was wrong. You were clear. I stood, pacing the small bedroom Mara had given me. Through the window, mountains cut black shapes against a star-bright sky. You made a choice. This is the consequence. Keira, please. Just tell me where you are. Let me. What? Apologize. Explain. My laugh hurt coming out. You don't get to fix this with words. You broke something, Cain. Something that can't be put back together with pretty speeches and regret. Then let me try anyway. His voice cracked. I've been losing my mind. The bond, it's like being slowly flayed alive. Every day it gets worse because I know what I threw away and I can't. He stopped. I can't fix it if you won't let me try. That's the point. You don't get to fix it. I pressed my free hand to my stomach. You wanted freedom from the bond. Congratulations. You're free. The baby and I will be fine without you. That's not 17 days. I'll be at the hearing, with a lawyer and medical documentation proving your rejection caused quantifiable psychological harm. The council will rule in my favor, you'll sign away parental rights, and we'll both move on. My voice stayed level. Clinical. That's how this ends. I won't sign. Then I'll make the case that an alpha who rejects his fated mate in public isn't stable enough to co-parent. The documentation will support me. Your own pack saw you deny the moon's will. How long before they start questioning your judgment on other matters? I heard his sharp intake of breath. You'd undermine my authority. I'd protect my child from a father who's proven he can't be trusted. The words tasted like acid. This isn't about punishing you, Cain. It's about the baby deserving better than a parent who sees them as an obligation he's being forced to accept. That's not, he stopped. When he spoke again, his voice had gone rough. I want this child. Want you. I know I have no right to say that after what I did, but it's true. The bond, it didn't break the way it was supposed to. It's still there, still pulling, and every day without you is painful. I cut him off. Good. Now you know what you put me through. Multiply that by 60 witnesses watching. Multiply it by 8 weeks of my pack looking at me with pity. Multiply it by building a human being inside my body while the bond screams that half of it is missing. My breath came shorter. You want to talk about pain. You don't get to claim pain as an excuse. I'm not making excuses. I'm trying to. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I powered it off. Lena appeared in my doorway, sleep-rumpled and concerned. That sounded intense. He found my number. What did he want? To fix things. I laughed without humor. Like it's that simple. Is it not? I turned to face her. He rejected me, Lena. In the worst possible way, for the worst possible reason. Now I'm supposed to what? Forgive him because his wolf is uncomfortable? Let him back into my life because biology is making him regret his choice? No. But maybe, she hesitated. Maybe you could hear him out. Not forgive, not forget. Just listen. To what end? To figure out if he's actually changed, or if he's just reacting to losing control of the situation. Does it matter? For your peace of mind? Yeah. It does. She came closer, sat on the edge of my bed. You're going to co-parent with this man for the rest of your life, one way or another. Even if the council rules in your favor, even if he signs away rights, that baby will want to know their father eventually. Wouldn't it be better to know who he actually is, rather than who you're assuming he is? I know who he is. He showed me. He showed you who he was 8 weeks ago, in front of his pack, under pressure. Maybe that's all he is. She shrugged. Or maybe he's something else too. Don't you want to know which before you lock the door forever? I sat down heavily. I can't afford to hope. If I let myself believe he could be different, and he's not, then you know for sure. And you can move forward without wondering. Lena squeezed my hand. But if you don't give him a chance to prove himself, you'll always wonder. And so will that baby. I pressed both hands to my stomach. 13 weeks now. Starting to show if you knew where to look. What if I can't survive being disappointed again? I whispered. Then we'll deal with it together. But Keira. She met my eyes. You're stronger than you think. You survived his rejection. You'll survive whatever comes next. I wanted to believe her. Instead, I powered my phone back on and found 17 missed calls from the same unknown number and one text message. I know I don't deserve another chance, but our child deserves a father who'll fight for them. Let me prove I can be that. Please. See. I stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then I typed, the hearing. You want to prove something. Show up with more than apologies. Show up with action. His response came back in seconds. What kind of action? I thought about it. About what would actually mean something versus empty words and desperate gestures. Step down. What? You rejected me because being my mate threatened your authority. Prove that's not who you are anymore. Step down as Alpha. Let Marcus lead. Show me your wolf isn't more important than keeping your word. The typing indicator appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, that's not fair. Neither was rejecting your fated mate in front of 60 people. You want fairness. You're 56 days too late. No response. I waited 5 minutes, then powered the phone off again. Lena had gone back to bed. The mountains outside stood silent and solid, unconcerned with werewolf drama and mate bond politics. I lay down, one hand on my stomach, and tried to sleep. The bond pulsed weak and distant, carrying nothing but his shocked silence across the miles. And I thought, he won't do it. And I don't want him to. And finally, what if he does? Day 12. 6 days before the hearing. Mara found me in the library, researching Pack law precedents. You have a visitor. I looked up. I didn't request. He came alone. Unarmed. Asked permission at the border like a supplicant, not an alpha. Her expression remained neutral. Should I send him away? My heart kicked against my ribs. Cain. Unless you know another wolf desperate enough to cross 200 miles of wilderness to stand at my door looking like he hasn't slept in a week. I closed the law book. My hands were shaking. What does he want? He wants to see you. I told him that was your decision, not mine. Tell him. I stopped. What? Tell him no. Tell him to leave. Tell him I'd been waiting for him to show up since the moment I'd sent that text 6 days ago. Tell him I'll meet him in the clearing. 10 minutes. My voice steadied. And Mara, stay within shouting distance. She smiled slightly. Already planned on it. I found Lena and explained. She wanted to come, but I shook my head. This needs to be just us. You sure? No, but I'm doing it anyway. The clearing sat at the eastern edge of Pack lands, where the trees opened to show the valley below. I stood at the center and waited, trying to calm my racing pulse. He appeared through the tree line. Lena was right. He looked like hell. Worse than when he'd shown up at my apartment. His clothes were travel-worn, his face gaunt, and his eyes held something I'd never seen before. Desperation. Real, bone-deep desperation. The bond sang. I shoved it down ruthlessly. You came. You asked me to prove I'd changed. He stopped 10 feet away, keeping distance. I'm trying. By showing up. By showing you this. He reached into his jacket, slowly, carefully, and pulled out a folded paper. Held it out. I didn't move. What is it? Official notice of leadership transfer. Signed by me, witnessed by the Pack Council, filed with the regional authority. His voice stayed level. As of 72 hours ago, Marcus is Alpha of Riverclaw. I'm just Cain. The world tilted. You actually did it. You asked me to prove your wolf wasn't more important than my word. He took one step closer. Just one. So I proved it. I stepped down. Gave up everything I've spent 15 years building. Another step. Because you're right. I chose authority over you once. I won't make that mistake again. I couldn't finish. Couldn't process. You're insane. Being Alpha is everything to you. I thought it was. He stopped 5 feet away. Close enough that I could see the hollows under his eyes. The way his hands trembled slightly. Turns out there are things that matter more. Like what? Like proving to you that I'm not the man who rejected you in Summit Hall. Like being worthy of a second chance. He met my eyes. Like our child deserving a father who puts them first. The baby kicked. First time. 14 weeks. Right on schedule. But the timing felt like cosmic intervention. My hand went to my stomach automatically. Cain's eyes tracked the movement. Something in his expression cracked open. Can I? He stopped. May I? Every instinct screamed no. Don't let him close. Don't let him touch. But the baby kicked again, insistent, and I heard myself say, "One hand. That's all." He closed the distance like he was approaching something sacred, knelt in front of me, which put him at the perfect height, and slowly, so slowly, pressed his palm flat against my stomach. The bond roared to life. Cain gasped. So did I. The connection that had been damaged and distant suddenly blazed bright, recognizing completion, sending waves of rightness through my entire system. His wolf recognized its mate. And its child. "Oh," he breathed. "Oh God." The baby kicked directly into his palm. Cain made a sound I'd never heard from an alpha, broken and awed and terrified all at once. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. "Thank you," he whispered. For giving me this. Don't." My voice came out strangled. "Don't thank me like I'm doing you a favor. This is your child. Biology, not choice. It's both." He stayed kneeling, hands still on my stomach, and I couldn't make myself pull away even though I should. "I choose this. Choose you. Choose to fight for another chance even though I know I don't deserve it." "You don't." "I know." His thumb moved in a small circle, unconscious and gentle. The baby kicked again, responding. "But I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn it anyway." Pretty words. Then let me prove it with action. He pulled his hand back slowly, stood. "The hearing is in 6 days. I'll show up. I'll testify that the rejection was mine alone, that you bear no fault. I'll support whatever custody arrangement you want, pay whatever support you need. What happened to your pack?" I cut him off. "You step down and they just accept it." His jaw tightened. "Marcus is well liked. Capable. They understood. That's not what I asked. Some of them think I'm weak. That I let a woman." He stopped. "Some of them are questioning whether stepping down proves I was unfit to lead in the first place. You lost their respect." "I lost some of it, yes. For me. For us." He held my gaze. "For the chance that maybe, if I prove myself, you'll let me be part of this child's life. That maybe someday you'll trust me enough to." He stopped. "To what?" "To try again. The bond, I mean. Let it heal properly instead of staying broken between us." The baby kicked. The bond pulsed. My wolf whined with want. And I said, "No." Cain flinched like I'd struck him. "You stepped down. That's good. It's a start." I wrapped my arms around my stomach, protective. "But it doesn't undo what you did. Doesn't erase 8 weeks of pain or the humiliation of being rejected in front of both our packs." "I know. So here's what happens. You show up at the hearing. You sign whatever custody agreement my lawyer drafts, every other weekend, supervised visits until the baby is 2. Child support calculated at standard alpha rates even though you're not alpha anymore." My voice stayed level. "You get to be a father. You don't get to be my mate. Keira, that's the offer. Take it or leave it." He looked at me for a long moment. I watched him war with himself, alpha pride versus desperate hope versus something that might have been actual love if I let myself believe it. "I'll take it," he said finally. "Whatever you're willing to give. I'll take it and prove that I can be more." "You can't be more. The bond is too damaged." "Then I'll prove I can be a good father. That's enough." It wasn't. I could see it in his eyes, hear it in the way the bond whispered between us. He wanted more, would always want more. But he was agreeing anyway. "The hearing," I said. 6 days. Don't be late." "I won't." "And Cain." I met his eyes. "If you ever reject me again, in any way, for any reason, I will make sure you never see this child. Legal or not, I'll disappear so thoroughly you'll spend the rest of your life wondering." "I won't. I swear to you, I won't." "We'll see." He left the way he came, through the tree line, walking like a man who'd lost everything and gained a sliver of hope he didn't trust. I stood in the clearing until Mara appeared at my elbow. "That was brutal," she said mildly. "That was necessary." "Was it? Or are you punishing him because you're afraid of wanting him?" I turned to face her. "Can't it be both?" She smiled. "I suppose it can. But Keira, that man just gave up his entire identity for a chance to know his child. That's not nothing. It's not enough. Perhaps not, but it's a foundation." She started back toward the pack house. "What you build on it is up to you." I stayed in the clearing as the sun set, one hand on my stomach, feeling the baby move and the bond pulse and the future pressing down like weather. 6 days. Then I'd face him in front of the council and formalize the distance between us. Make it official that we were co-parents, not mates. The bond shuddered with protest. I ignored it. But that night, alone in my room, I dreamed of winter smoke eyes and gentle hands and a future where the bond healed instead of scarred. I woke up angry at myself for hoping. The council chamber smelled like old leather and older magic. I sat at the respondent's table with my lawyer, a sharp-eyed wolf from Crescent Valley who specialized in bond law, and tried to keep my hands from shaking. 14 weeks pregnant, just starting to show under my loose blouse. The council elders would know anyway. Wolves could scent pregnancy from across a room. Cain sat at the petitioner's table, Marcus beside him, which surprised me. Show of support from his former pack. My father sat in the gallery. So did Lena, Mara, and 20 other wolves I half recognized from various packs. News of a rejected bond case had spread. Everyone wanted to see how it resolved. The head elder, a silver-haired woman named Sage, called the session to order. We are convened to address the matter of Cain Riverclaw versus Keira Thorne, regarding the status of a claimed mate bond and custody arrangements for an unborn child. She looked between us. Mr. Riverclaw, you filed this petition. State your case. Cain stood. He dressed formally, suit, tie, hair pulled back. Looked like an alpha except for the hollowness in his eyes. 8 weeks ago, I rejected my mate bond with Keira Thorne. Publicly, in front of both our packs during treaty negotiations. His voice carried steady and clear. I claimed the bond was a political trap. I was wrong. Murmurs through the gallery. The rejection didn't take. The bond remained active on both sides, damaged but not severed. And approximately 2 weeks after the rejection, a pregnancy resulted from the bond's attempt to complete itself biologically. Sade's expression gave nothing away. You're claiming the pregnancy is yours. I'm stating a fact. The timeline and bond mechanics support it. Miss Thorne. Sage looked at me. Do you dispute paternity? I stood. No, Elder. The child is his. And the bond status? Damaged beyond repair. The rejection caused quantifiable psychological harm. I have medical documentation. My lawyer slid the file across. Sage skimmed it, expression darkening. Severe trauma response. Disassociation. Suicidal ideation. She looked at Cain. You understand what you did to her? Yes, Elder. And yet you're here requesting custody rights. I'm here to support whatever arrangement Miss Thorne deems appropriate. Cain's voice stayed level. And to formally apologize for the harm I caused. Sage leaned back. Apologies don't undo damage, Mr. Riverclaw. I know, which is why I've taken concrete action. He pulled out papers. 3 days ago, I stepped down as Alpha of Riverclaw Pack. Leadership transferred to Marcus formally and permanently. I did this to prove that I chose pack authority over Miss Thorne once, and I won't repeat that mistake. Shocked silence. Sage took the papers. Read them. Looked at Marcus. You confirm this? Yes, Elder. Cain transferred authority willingly and completely. Why? Marcus glanced at Cain, then at me. Because he realized too late what he'd lost. And because our pack deserves a leader whose judgment isn't compromised by regret. Savage. Honest. The kind of thing only a true friend could say. Cain's expression didn't change. Sage set down the papers. Let me be clear. Stepping down from leadership doesn't erase what you did. Doesn't automatically grant you custody rights or bond reconciliation. I understand. Then what exactly are you asking for? A chance to prove I can be a good father. Whatever visitation Miss Thorne allows. Whatever support she requires. He looked at me. And time. To show her I've changed. Time for what? Sage asked. To earn her trust back. To let the bond heal properly, if she's ever willing to try. And if she's not, then I'll spend the rest of my life being the best co-parent I can be. His eyes didn't leave mine. But I'll keep trying anyway. Sage turned to me. Miss Thorne, you've heard his petition. What are your terms? I stood. Felt the baby shift inside me, a reminder of what this was actually about. Every other weekend visitation, supervised until the child is 2 years old. Child support calculated at former alpha rates. No overnight visits until the child is verbal enough to communicate clearly. I kept my voice steady. And the bond stays severed. Legally and magically. I want it documented that any attempt to force bond completion will result in immediate loss of custody. Those are harsh terms, Sage observed. He rejected me in front of 60 people. These terms are merciful. Cain. Sage looked at him. Do you accept? He didn't hesitate. Yes. even the bond severance clause. If that's what she needs to feel safe, yes. Sage studied us both for a long moment. Then she sighed. Very well. The council rules as follows. Custody will be shared per Miss Thorne's terms. Child support will be calculated and enforced. And the mate bond will be formally acknowledged as damaged beyond standard reconciliation protocols. She pulled out the official seal. However, I'm adding one caveat. The bond severance clause activates only if Mr. Riverclaw attempts forced completion. Natural healing, if both parties willingly participate, is not prohibited. My lawyer started to object. I put a hand on her arm. That's acceptable, I said. Cain's head snapped up, surprise clear in his face. Sage stamped the documents. Then we're adjourned. The terms will be filed officially within 48 hours. You're both bound by this agreement until the child reaches legal majority. She looked between us. May the moon grant you wisdom in navigating what comes next. She left. So did the other elders. The gallery erupted in conversation. I stayed seated, suddenly exhausted. Cain approached slowly. Stopped 3 feet away. Thank you. For what? For not closing the door completely. The natural healing clause. Don't read too much into it. I cut him off. That's for the baby. In case the bond being damaged affects them somehow. Still, thank you. I looked at him. Really looked. He'd lost weight. Lost his pack position. Lost everything that made him alpha. And he was thanking me. You're an idiot, I said quietly. He smiled. Barely, but it was there. Probably. Definitely. I stood, pressed a hand to my stomach. The baby kicked. You gave up everything. I gave up nothing that mattered more than this. You don't know if it'll work. If I'll ever trust you. I know. But I have to try. The bond pulsed between us. Damaged, yes, but not dead. Never quite dead. Every other weekend, I said. Starting after the birth. I'll be there. And Cain. I met his eyes. If you hurt me again, I won't. You don't know that. Then let me prove it. He held my gaze. One day at a time. For as long as it takes. I wanted to say no. Wanted to hold the grudge forever. Keep him at arm's length where he couldn't hurt me. But the baby kicked again, and the bond whispered. And I thought about the baby growing up without a father because I was too afraid to let him try. One day at a time. I agreed finally. That's all I'm promising. That's all I'm asking. My father appeared at my elbow. Keira, we should go. I nodded. Let him steer me toward the exit. But at the doorway, I looked back. Cain stood alone at his table, watching me leave with an expression that looked like hope and heartbreak in equal measure. The bond pulled. I turned away. Outside, the sun was setting. My father drove me back to Crescent Valley in silence, respecting that I needed space to process. But as we crossed into Pack lands, he said quietly, You did well today. Did I? You set boundaries, demanded respect, and left the door open just enough. He glanced at me. Your mother would be proud. I'm not trying to reconcile with him. I know. The baby deserves a chance to know their father. I know that too. He squeezed my hand. But Keira, whether you admit it or not, that bond is still alive. Damaged, maybe, but alive. That doesn't mean I have to act on it. No, but denying it won't make it go away. I didn't answer. We drove the rest of the way in silence. And that night, in my own bed in my own apartment, I felt the bond pulse steady as a second heartbeat. Cain was out there, somewhere, thinking about me, about the baby, about the impossibly narrow path I'd given him to walk. I pressed both hands to my stomach and whispered, We're going to be okay, with or without him. The baby kicked agreement. The bond hummed with hope I refused to acknowledge. And somewhere across the pack boundary, Cain felt me settle into sleep and let himself believe, just for a moment, that maybe, eventually, I'd let him come home.